Well, welcome to the Board of County Commissioners August 4th, 2011 meeting. And we're going to start out with a presentation, which is a proclamation for the week of... Pardon?
Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh,
Pledge of Allegiance.
all right. We'll start out with a Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America,
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I've only been doing this for about 10 years before every single meeting. I guess I'm excited about the proclamation.
I guess so.
Proclamation of the week is August 7th through the 13th, and I guess I'm going to read that. Proclaim August 7th through the 13th, 2011 as Farmers Market Week in Clackamas County. Whereas agriculture is essential to Oregon's economy, and whereas a healthy agriculture sector committed to sustainable practice that preserve Oregon's quality farmland is vital to Oregon's economic and environmental health. Whereas farmers markets support family farms, rural jobs, community food security, and preserve farmland and open space, adding to our quality of life. And whereas farmers markets play a key role in developing local and regional food systems, support family farms, revitalize local communities, and provide an opportunity for farmers and consumers to interact. Whereas farmers markets contribute to the economic and social vitality of many communities, creating a positive social experience and educating consumers about their food and where it comes from. And whereas Clackamas County has many farmers markets which offer a variety of fresh, healthy, locally grown foods sold directly from the farm to the consumer. And whereas Clackamas County residents can attend a farmers market throughout the communities of Boring, Canby, Clackamas, Estacada, Milwaukee, Oregon City, Sandy, Westland, and Wilsonville. Now, therefore, it is hereby proclaimed by the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners to proclaim August 7th through the 13th as Farmers Market Week in Clackamas County, and encourage the citizens of the county to visit a farmers market and celebrate the many benefits of our local farmers market. By the way, Ed Zumwalt here, and I, along with Brendan Eisworth, started Milwaukee's first farmers market, and Ed spent many years helping set up and organize that, so thank you, as well as all the farmers markets in the county that are vital, as far as I'm concerned, to the community. On the screen now is a list of the farmers markets, and there's so many popping up these days. I hopefully we didn't miss any, but please join us at one of the local farmers market and help support the community and the farmers. So thank you.
Just wanted to add that the Gladstone has had a new farmers market that they've been active with for the last couple of months. So just want to let people know on Portland Avenue that the new farmers market is going on there, and that's also the weekend, the celebration of the Chautauqua Festival. So that's also going on over there in Gladstone.
Thank you.
I'd love to add a thing, too. About half a year ago, Eben Polk with our sustainability department presented a statistic in one of these meetings that I thought was really remarkable about the value of local food markets. He said that if every household, oh my goodness, in Clackamas County bought all of its food from local sources, that could create $1 billion a year in local economic activity. Wow. So it's not just charming, and it's not just healthful. Local purchasing of locally grown food is a giant potential economic engine for a big part of our community. So thanks.
I just think this is a wonderful proclamation. I'm really glad to see this come forward. So do we move to support and vote on this?
Yes, I
imagine.
guess we
Yeah.
ought to,
Yeah,
shouldn't
I think
we?
that we
Yes.
should. I
I'll
think that we
entertain
should.
a motion.
I move we proclaim the week of August 7th through August 13th as National Farmers Week in Clackamas County.
Is there a second?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is citizen communication, and Les Poole, you're up first. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Commissioners. Les Poole, 15115 Southeast Lee, 97267. Couple of follow-up thoughts about the July 28th meeting and some concerns about the trolley trail. I imagine you're not surprised that that's my subject. Last month, one of the commissioners made a motion, and there was discussion and input about a vote on urban renewal projects countywide. On the 28th, the meeting was about the intergovernmental agreement, and I believe it's correct to say that the intergovernmental agreement is not tied to or reliant on urban renewal. So I'm just wondering how we got there from the original motion, and I'd happily be corrected if I'm confused. Certainly there's concerns about the agreement, about a $25 million commitment, and how do we get it? But there are other avenues besides urban renewal for that process. And I'd still like to see the opportunity to vote on urban renewal go before the board. It looks like within a few days there'll be enough signatures on a petition, and citizen participation will make that happen. The IGA was signed, and the board represented, as heads of the Parks District, represented the Parks District in that process in February of 2010. I believe there were concerns about the trolley trail because the light rail is going to impose dramatically on the trail. And ironically, the Clackamas Review, and I'll leave a copy of this, the Clackamas Review shows a depiction of what's planned in the Park Avenue segment. And the trolley trail is directly underneath the trail. Underneath the train. Those are not, in my professional opinion, de minimis or minimum impacts. And we've got grave concerns about what's going on there. You will not hear me say that I intend to stop light rail, but you will hear me say that unless this is redesigned, there will be a legal action taken. And furthermore, I've commented in the past that TriMet knew and Metro knew they didn't have the money to get to Park Avenue. And here we are trying to come up with money after $70 million. $70 million has been committed in discretionary funds. Why didn't we write a $22 million check to the Selwood Bridge? The money isn't there, folks. The money is not there. I wish I had about 30 seconds more, but thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ed Zumwalt, and please give Ed only 30 seconds. Just kidding.
That is usually what happens to me. But that's all right. Good morning, Commissioners.
Ed,
Commissioner
where do
Damon.
you live?
Pardon?
Where do you live?
10888 Southeast 29th Avenue, Milwaukee, Oregon, 97222. Good morning, Commissioners. And Commissioner Damon, congratulations on your recent appointment.
Thanks, Ed.
Now, you know, James, how I hate confrontation. But I'm known for that. But last week you made a statement that you said I would probably disagree with you, and I certainly do. That you and I saved light rail and brought it back to the table after its crushing defeat in 1998. That isn't exactly true because it never left the table. It may have been laying there under a soiled napkin on the corner of a table, but it was always there. These people don't let you go that easy. They were studying the Tillamook line, which incidentally runs right by your station. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. That is confrontation. Anyway, they were always studying the Tillamook line, and at that time they were promising a vote in either 02, 04, or 06, and they were being very nice to us. And they came to Jim and I, who were trying to buy the Milwaukee Middle School at the time for a community center, and they said, "Fellas, we know you want that school, and we're going to make sure you get it. If we buy it for you or make sure you get it, you're going to get it. And to throw in for kickers, we're going to put access to your riverfront park with either a sky bridge or a tunnel, and we're going to give you a great big lot for people to park in Milwaukee so they can shop and make that a vital city. And most of all, we're going to give you security in your neighborhoods when we bring light rail. There will be no negative impacts by light rail." Oh, God, I thought I died and gone to heaven until it came up. There was no vote. Then they laughed at us about the bridge, about the school. There's still no bridge, parking lot. And as far as safety and security goes, they're going to run 164 trains a day right next to the neighborhood I live in and impacting 3 other neighborhoods. And they've come to us and said, we're not going to even come and talk to you about policing till 2013, until we know what our policing budget's going to be, and until the city of Portland knows what their policing budget's going to be. We still do not know about the crossing safety. They're bringing that light rail into 4 schools, and there are little kids involved. They recently had a deal called Walk Safely in Milwaukee, and I says, how are you going to walk safely in Milwaukee? You're bringing 164 trains a day into 4 schools, and you haven't got a plan. Just for the record, I never have been, I am not now, and I never will be for light rail for a lot of reasons, mostly because it's not economically feasible, and for the price they're paying for $1.6 billion, you could double the bus service in the whole Tri-County region with brand new, clean-running buses. 3 seconds. Thank you very much for your time.
Nice seeing you, Ed. Richard Langdon? Thank you for coming.
Good morning, Richard Langdon, Portland, Oregon. Excuse me, Portland, Oregon. I've been here now for 4 months, every week, or every week that we've had this thing. The targeting and the selective enforcement still continues in Clackamas County to this very day, and that's after a year, maybe a year and a half, getting close to 2 years now. It is certainly reasonable to expect the commissioners to have had the only violation citation removed at this point relating to mobile food carts, since no such zoning code exists. It's very simple. There cannot be a violation where no code exists. That's pathetic. So I'd like to know from the commissioners to tell me how many times I've come, or my group has come, and asked for their help to simply go have the staff remove the one targeting selective enforcement of a code. I'll wait for my answer for the rest of my 3 minutes. This is getting pathetic.
Well, I guess I'll jump in. It's not customary to respond to questions, but I do believe on, what was the 12th, myself, Commissioner Damon, and Commissioner Leininger and Commissioner Bernard were in attendance to a meeting, and we believe, and I've been checking weekly, that we're on track to resolving this within, I believe our target was about a few weeks. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that we're on target with that. So I expect that by August 12th, or around that time, because we didn't have a date specific or a time specific, but around that time, I would expect that we would have somewhat met a reasonable mutual obligation to meet all those things we had listed up on the chalkboard that day. So,
And Richard, yesterday I met with Mike McAllister for probably about an hour and a half, specifically about where we're at with the ordinance, because, I was gone for the last 2 weeks, so I wanted to get up to date. And he did say that that you and he and Dan had been working on some revisions to the site plan, and so that was moving along. That you've been offering some input on the draft food cart ordinance, and he was really heartened by that. But the issue that I think you're most interested in is the code update, so the larger language. And so he and I talked quite a bit about that, and we've got a follow-up meeting about when, how to make that happen. And so that's in the works. So I just wanted to let you know that I got right on top of that when I got back to get up to speed and talk to Mike. And so, yeah, it seems to me that we are very much on track from where we left it on the July 12th meeting. And so I'm hoping that here in the next couple of weeks we'll know for sure what kind of ordinance we have, and specifically as it relates to your property.
And I had actually a question for County Council regarding a process to. There is a process to create a new ordinance, so there is a time period, public notice.
Indeed,
so,
there is.
So it's not something that by August 12th would be resolved. It would take a public notice and all those things, correct?
Correct. Very unlikely by August 12th that we would have a new ordinance in place addressing food carts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
yeah, I just want to clarify for Commissioner Bernard. At the tail end of the meeting, I believe you had another commitment. I believe so. You left the room at the tail end there, but I think that having an ordinance drafted by any date certain was certainly not up on the chalkboard.
Yeah.
I just think that we would just meet what we had outlined on the board, and so I hope we get there soon.
Yeah, I think the priority is to resolve the issues specific to your site first. Second, or else actually parallel, develop an ordinance specific to food carts to give some more certainty for potential future food carts. And third, to look at how we can provide some more certainty within other aspects of the code so that it isn't, quite so open to discretion as you have pointed out. And that's partly what Mike and I talked about yesterday.
I guess in addition, I've always believed, I had lots of people come to me and say, can you fix this ticket? Well, that's not our job. Matter of fact, it's illegal for us to not follow the law. And so if there is an ordinance or if there is a violation.
Excuse me, Commissioner Bernard, could you tell me what the law is about food carts in Clackamas County right now? I do understand the argument you're attempting to make. It's bizarre. That's like saying, once again, well, what is the speeding limit here? Because you're giving me a citation for it, and this officer says to you, well, it's whatever I say it is at any time I wish.
That's actually not how we are doing this. And
Oh, is that
not
right?
Selective ordinance.
Richard, the
I
chair
am
is
actually
speaking.
not arguing with you. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you for yours. I'll speak to those next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richard.
That's it for citizen communication, unless there's somebody else. We'll move on to the consent agenda and ask the clerk to read the consent agenda by item, agenda items by title only.
Okay. Under Health, Housing, and Human Services, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the State of Oregon Department of Housing and Community Services for a variety of social services programs. Approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Benton County for the Citizen Alien Waived Emergency Medical Children's Dental Program. Approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Multnomah County for the Citizen Alien Waived Emergency Medical Children's Dental Program. approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Health Authority for the Adult Mental Health Initiative. Under the Finance Department, approval of a work and financial plan between Clackamas County and the U.S. Department of Agriculture for the County Trapper Services.
And then moving on, under elected officials, approval of business meeting minutes. Board order approving the cancellation of delinquent personal property accounts, assessor. Board order approving the cancellation of manufactured structure personal property taxes, assessor. Under emergency management, approval of an agreement between Clackamas County Emergency Management and the Oregon Emergency Management for the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program contract for landslide, hazard mapping, and risk assessment. Under North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District, approval of amendment number 1 to the contract with Trout Mountain Forestry, LLC, for consulting services for wildfire management planning and related implementation activities for the Clackamas County Parks and the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. Under Water Environment Services, approval of an intergovernmental agreement between Clackamas County Service District Number 1 and the City of Portland for the construction of sanitary sewers and cost sharing of common facilities. And that concludes our consent agenda today.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Chair Bernard, I move we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is Commissioner Communication. Who would like to begin? Jamie?
Well, I actually have a fair amount.
Okay.
No.
Hey,
Have at it.
so I watched. Well, actually, so I have two main things. One is I missed the business meeting last week because I was in Washington D.C. I was finishing up some business as it relates to my work at Portland State University, but as a part of that, through the good work of Gary Schmidt here at the county and Hal Hemstra, is that right?
Yes,
Yep,
essentially right.
our lobbyist in D.C., they set up meetings with our congressional delegates with me, and I was able to meet with Wyden and Merkley and met with Blumenauer's staff and with Schrader and spent some quality time with all of them. So there's a couple things. One is that I was very heartened to know how familiar they are with Clackamas County and how supportive they are. So that was really great. Probably the biggest issue that they talked with me about was the concern about the continuation of the payments for the Secure Rural Schools Fund, the timber payments in lieu of harvest, and that how difficult it is to get the other states to understand the importance of those payments to timber-dependent counties like ours. And I actually don't know the total amount that our county receives. That's something do you know, Steve?
In terms of secure rural school
Yeah,
payments,
yeah.
well, at the high water mark, approximately 4 to 5 years ago, in the general fund, we received about $5.4 million, and we've been on a step-down program since then, and we're entering the final year of that program. I don't have the exact number. I would imagine it's in the range of $4 million or slightly less.
Right. So it's significant.
It is, and there was another portion to it that went into the roads division. I don't have that number, but it was significant money also for
Right.
road maintenance as well.
Yeah, so they are working on reauthorization of that bill, and they are actually having a lot of trouble getting traction from other states to support counties such as ours. So that's a call out to all of you to contact your congressional delegates and let them know how important this money is to our county. So that's one piece. So the other piece is I did watch the entire hearing, all 3 hours, 58 minutes of it, and took quite a lot of notes, and I'm really sorry that I missed it. I know that it was an important watershed meeting for our county. But I have several pages of things that I'd like to say. My commissioners are all, but I did see all of you weigh in quite a lot in the hearing, so this is my time to share some of that. So there are a couple things. One is I just wanted to thank everybody that came. I know that our room isn't as full today, but it was packed last week, and I want to thank everyone who took the time out of their meeting, out of their workday to come and talk with us, and people that took the time to write. I look forward to conversations with the rest of my commissioners about when we can hold our meetings in the evening, and when we can hold them at other parts in the county, so it makes it more accessible for folks. I think we probably would have had a lot more people come and talk to us if we would have done that. So I look forward to that. The second is I have a series of observations. So one is there seemed to be some, a thread that went through that this is a decision that we're making lightly. And I have to say that $25 million is a lot of money. And as I thought about it, it's, it represents about 500 families, 500 working families' annual income. So this is not a decision that I take lightly. I think it's important to keep in perspective the magnitude of the money that we're talking about. I think at any level of government, particularly as you get higher up to federal government, it's easy to talk in millions and billions and trillions and kind of lose sight of the perspective of what that amount of money is. And I'm trying not to lose sight of that. I know what $25 million means to the folks in this county, and those are the kinds of dollars that I lose sleep over. So I just want to let you know that the magnitude of the money is important to me. And because of that, I think it's really important that people are right to question, this kind of appropriation. People are right to wonder, where this money is going to come from, what the impacts are going to be. I think that's the duty of folks that live in our county to do that, to bring it to our attention. I would expect that of people in our county to do that. And I hope that people continue to do that of all of our financial commitments that we make. So I applaud you for caring enough to come and talk with us about that. But I also recognize that is exactly what people in Portland and Milwaukee and Oak Grove have been doing for years and years and years on this project. They've been coming to the table. They've been trying to understand this project. They've been trying to understand the benefits and trade-offs. They've been trying to make it better for their communities. And what we've got is a project that represents a high level of commitment among agency partners, among community members who have tried to make this a better project for their community. And I want to support everybody that has put time into making this project better for the communities. I appreciate what you said, Ed, about, there have been commitments made by the agencies about security, about station design, about locations of stations, about minimizing impacts to residents, around noise, vibration. I'm well aware of a lot of those issues. As Mr. Sanders in his testimony correctly pointed out, I was part of leading that public conversation for about a year in Milwaukee during the development of the supplemental draft environmental impact statement. And I heard firsthand how folks in Milwaukee, Portland, and Oak Grove were struggling to try to figure out how to minimize these impacts and what it meant. And there were commitments made. And this $25 million that we are obligated to meet helps make good those commitments. And I think it's really important that folks like Les and Ed and Thelma and others hold our feet to the fire to make sure that those commitments are honored. And this $25 million helps make sure that this is a quality project. And I was really heartened to hear my fellow commissioners talk about that everybody supports a quality project. And Scott Sedaris, our counsel, saying, we've got the full weight of the county behind making sure this is a quality project. So I think that we need to continue to not lose sight of the commitments that have been made and how to minimize these impacts in our community. And Les, I really liked your comment about what end of the horse are we getting in Oak Grove. That was great. But I think we need to. It's important. We need to make sure of that we don't lose sight of those commitments. A couple other things. So I found myself agreeing with John Charles, which doesn't often happen, but I do appreciate John Charles's thoughtfulness when he brings issues to the table. And what John said was that, we really shouldn't be arguing so much about whether or not we have a vote on this contract. What we should be doing is having a grown-up conversation about how it's paid for. And he specifically talked about urban renewal, and I agree. I think that a survey, which is where we ended, I liked how the motion was amended to include a survey, a call for more input. I think a survey is great. I think it's not enough. I think we need dialogue, and I like what John said about a grown-up conversation about the trade-offs. Votes are a basic tenet of our democracy. I support voting. Steve Spinnett in a recent editorial wrote that Clackamas County, don't be afraid to vote. I'm not afraid to vote. I think it's a basic tenet of our democracy. But a vote on this contract at this time is too late. It's too little, too late. And it doesn't have the kind of influence or impact of a vote like the vehicle registration fee. That was very influential. That had a huge impact. Votes on urban renewal, I think people that live within an urban renewal district have the right to vote on whether or not they want that district. I think that that is something that we should be talking about. And I look forward to that conversation with us as a commission, with our council, with our staff, and with our community. So, what else was I going to say? I have pages of notes. I think that was about it. Yeah. So I think that was about it. I took notes, pages and pages of notes of everybody's testimony. I really appreciate everybody's time, and I would not have supported the motion to send this to a vote, but I probably would support a motion for a vote on urban renewal districts for people within the district to be able to have a say about whether or not that district should be there. But a vote is just a piece of involvement, and I think that dialogue and debate and information should precede a vote and should follow a vote. And that's the challenge that I put out to folks in our community, is to engage in that information and dialogue and debate before a vote and after a vote, because the vote doesn't necessarily mean that the problem goes away. I think that's it.
Thank you. I neglected to make one announcement and invite some gentlemen up. Last week, the board appointed Carl Clinton as Clackamas County Surveyor. Carl is here today. We'd like to introduce you to Carl and invite Mike Besner and Carl up. And congratulations on your appointment, and thank you for coming today. I just wanted you to stay so you could hear Jamie's comments.
So I'd have more of an audience?
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Mike Besner, Engineering Manager for the county, and Carl, new County Surveyor. Couple things, and Carl and I are going to be collaborating an awful lot lately because we've recently merged our two divisions, Engineering and Surveyor. So not sure what we're going to call ourselves yet, but we're all actually working together very closely now. But Clackamas County has had a county surveyor since 1857. You don't think about it much, but it's how you know where your property is. I mean, the job is pretty darn important. And since 1857, Carl is the 20th individual to be county surveyor. A couple people have come and gone a couple times, but 20 different individuals. I think that's pretty amazing.
That is.
He has also been the deputy county county surveyor. I don't think he's ever been the deputy county administrator. Correct me if I'm wrong. Deputy county surveyor for 26 years, which is an awfully large percentage of the 154 years that we've had a surveyor. So the man knows what he's doing. So we're proud to have him as the surveyor.
I need to add one other thing that I have to say. Last week, Carl Clinton was here and showed exemplary patience as he waited until about noon, when I finally went back and I said, I think this meeting is going to go on quite a bit longer, so I granted him a release to get back to work. So this is a little shorter meeting, so we're happy to have him introduced here. But he was a really good sport about waiting through last week, too.
Thank you, Carl. You have some comments?
I just thank the board for the appointment, and I kind of the history buff of the county surveyors, and I've kind of built a list of the history of who's done what, and I'm really honored to be county surveyor for Clackamas County because of the long history that the county has, and the programs that we have in reviewing plats and trying to protect the public when we approve a plat, and our public land corner program. And I would welcome the opportunity sometime to kind of present the public land corner program to you, because it's kind of a program that's kind of hidden that you may not find a lot of information out there about. We go out and try to restore and find, and it's almost archaeological surveying, trying to protect those old land corners. And we've got some really interesting old things that we find when we dig them up, too. So.
Are you talking about a spot somewhere in the corner of Clackamas County at the Four Corners where there's some sort of...
Well, we have about, in Clackamas County, we have about 7,000 public land corners that were set beginning in 1850. And we have about 4,000 of them that are in the area that's not in the National Forest. And we've restored about 1,500 of those are current restorations, and those are kinds of things where we have to go back and revisit them because they get torn out or they get damaged or that sort of thing, or roads get built across them. And
Oh, that doesn't happen.
but and we found some. We've got some interesting. I've got a bottle that we found when we dug up a corner that was actually signed by 12 individuals that observed it being set, and they put a cork in it and they buried it upside down under the stone. And we have that bottle in our office. The cork is still in it, and you can kind of read the note. We've got an old wagon skein that was set for another corner. And there was 2 of those set. One of them completely rusted away. There was no evidence that one was ever there. We have one of the other ones. And old bottles, old patent medicine bottles, and all kinds of stuff that we find in different places.
Great. Well, welcome.
Yeah, one of the wonderful features of Clackamas County is its colorful history and the fact that people came to Clackamas County early on as they were migrating into this area. The European settlers did, and it's great that a history buff is also our surveyor, and the work that you do is really important. It's so wonderful to have you on board. Thank you for your long service to date, and it sounds like you will have a duty to serve for a really long time now to continue our great run of long tenure among our surveyors. So thank you.
So a good name would be E3S. I'm just kidding.
That sounds like something that's taken already.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ann, would you like to be next?
Sure. I want to note how much I appreciate the great comments that Commissioner Damon just offered. So thank you for doing that. And I think that you bring a wonderful commitment and a set of insights to the board, and it's a pleasure to work with you. And welcome back. I want to say briefly that one of the things that I'm really focused on in my work here is trying to make sure that we help meet the basic needs of people who are really fragile in the county. And my background is in foundation work, and one of the hopes is that we can bring more foundation funding into Clackamas County, private foundations, because Clackamas County gets a little less of that than some of the other counties, and it's really important in a time of scarce revenue to be creative and bring in as many sources of outside funding that you possibly can. So two exciting things. One, in Milwaukee, there's been this wonderful teamwork among the high school, Milwaukee High School, under the leadership of Michael Rawls, who's the vice principal there, and Outside In, which is a great nonprofit that provides healthcare services and other services to fragile people, and local minister, and I think the Rotary, and a wide range of people to try to create a school-based health center, and some OHSU staff create a school-based health center at Milwaukee High School so the people whose parents don't have health insurance or who can't get them to the doctor can get their health care needs met. Well, they recently got a $396,000 grant to help support construction of and equipping of the school-based health center. And that is money comes from outside of our community that's going to help them do this important work. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. And we early on, about a year and a half ago, put in $50,000 to try to help them get this thing off the ground. And I think it's important that because of the teamwork, they're making serious progress, and that's wonderful for fragile people. Second, we understand that a lot of the nonprofits in our community and faith-based organizations do really important work in getting food to people who are hungry and all kinds of important help out. And so one of the things that Commissioner Bernard and I really advocated for right when we started was the creation of a really small grants program that we could use to make tiny grants, very modest-sized grants to nonprofits doing key basic needs work in the community to help them make it through and help them leverage other outside funding. And I'm pleased to say that for the third year in a row, we're going to offer this program to organizations that help meet people's basic needs. And it's a $200,000 total program, so the awards are generally $5,000, maybe $10,000. And the deadline is coming up. So perhaps Mary has information on the website. Mm-hmm. You can access it through the website, but the deadline to apply is the 8th of September. And it's a pretty streamlined application. And then the date by which we hope to make the awards is the end of October. So it's coming up soon. If there's a faith-based group, a 501c3, some community group that does important work to help fragile people get their basic needs met, send them to this website because we want to be strong partners in helping our residents of all needs. So thank you.
Commissioner Savas?
Well, I'm going to kind of go full circle here because it's been a very interesting couple of nights. Tuesday was National Night Out around the country and communities in Clackamas County, and I attended the one in Overland Park. And great group of people out there. Short story is some neighborhoods basically about 10 years ago tried to address the drug houses and the crimes in their neighborhood and decided to take the bull by the horns and take it head on. And they got our sheriff's office and the district attorney's office involved. And with their help and assistance over the years, eradicated that and took back control of their neighborhood. So they have an annual celebration, and they National Night Out is one of those opportunities to do that. So I got to meet all those people that were behind that. And it just goes to show that partnership really between the community and the county and our district attorney's office and public safety. So I want to thank all those people that have done that. Interestingly, last night was and Commissioner Bernard joined me there, was the McLaughlin Area Plan, one of the meetings to gather the second phase of that process, what the vision of projects would look like, where they would go. And, in that process, Mr. Bernard and I both spoke a little bit to introduce ourselves and welcome the attendees. And so during the meeting, people approached, I know both of us, and I didn't get out of the parking lot till about 9:45 last night, and had a number of people talking about that. And some of them responded and had watched the video of last week's meeting, and building on what Commissioner Damon had said, they said, well, one of the comments made by one of us was, where were you after all these years, all this process? And so I had people that lifelong residents of, because it's a map, the map areas focused around Oak Grove, Milwaukee, Gladstone, Jennings Lodge. These people are from there, say, until we read it in the newspaper, a lot of us never knew about it. I mean, so their rebuttal, I think, was along the lines of, oh gosh, we get your newsletters in the mail, didn't see it in the newsletter. The other one was relative to the Overland Park discussion was one gentleman who's been plagued by some drug issues, some crime that's occurring in that area, in the Park Avenue area. So today I'll be meeting with the district attorney and see if maybe we can get some attention drawn towards that, and also meet with the sheriff to try and get that eradicated. But he's lived there his whole life and grew up there in the Park Avenue area, runs a small business there, and is asking for some help. But I do think it's worthy to note that again, the community process that we heard in Milwaukee, I think really they did a great job. I think it was the outside areas that really didn't get some of that attention. And the other one was people said, well, in response, because it was been a very interesting week since then, that the response to that, where were you? And a lot of people said, I'm at work. I mean, I got to make a living. I got to feed my family. I got to put food on the table. And to get to the Commissioner's Damon point that I think we both share in that, we need to make an opportunity for the commissioners to hear the public at a reasonable time in the evening hour, whether it's once a month or whatever. But I think they need the opportunity. And when people approached me last night and they say, "Well, who do we talk to about a multitude of issues?" This is just light rail, just a number of issues that are going on. I said, "Well, your only opportunity to really talk to us is at 10 o'clock on Thursday." Every week. And until we make another time, and I know that I'm interested in doing that, I know other commissioners have expressed interest in that, we need to make a concerted effort, not just talk about it, we need to make some traction on getting another opportunity so people can put food on their table and still have an opportunity to reach out to us. So thank you, Commissioner Damon, for bringing that up. See, what else do I have? I believe that really covered what I wanted to say, and I'm completed.
I also attended the MAP meeting. I got there about an hour early, didn't stay quite till 9:45, but stayed a little after 9. It's interesting that, I had very, very positive conversations with everybody. I mean, a lot of people, not everybody. Don't want to exaggerate, but, a couple dozen people. I don't know how many people attended, 50?
I counted minus staff, probably in the neighborhood around 70, 75.
So it was well attended. It is actually another opportunity for citizens to talk to us. We attend meetings all over the county, which is an opportunity for people to talk to us. And we have had a number of meetings in the evening when people expressed that they would like to address a specific issue. And we've had a number of meetings in the evening, and I think we have reached out to do exactly that. We are all over the county. One of the advantages, of course, to 5 of us is that we're able to attend a lot of meetings. I was mayor of Milwaukee when that North Clackamas, that area actually created that committee to look at taking back their neighborhood. Attended a few of those meetings, and they were very successful because of that partnership and community involvement. Also, I cannot. I had a very positive experience last night. I'm glad I went. People expressed interest in the Elks property, the fact that we had made an offer. People expressed that they're excited. They would love to see a community center somewhere out in that area. That one, of course, is absolutely huge. Many of those people haven't spent a lot of time there. There was some interest in a pool. I invite them to walk behind the building and take a look at the pool, which hasn't been open since the 90s, I think, sometime in the 90s. Could have been the early 2000s. And I had one question. Somebody commented, Paul, just a little bit ago about you having made a motion to put urban renewal on the ballot, but that wasn't actually your motion. Your motion had something to do with supporting light rail, if I remember right. But what was your motion?
Well, I think if it was last week, I believe you made the
Not
motion.
last week. I'm talking about the week prior.
I believe my motion was to have a discussion about putting. I have to go back and look, because there were. I think I outlined. I do recall specifically that I outlined there were 3 issues that the people spoke to at that meeting, and number 1 was the funding, number 2 was the contract, and the other one was light rail.
So
Urban renewal. So there were 3 different issues. So I think basically I think my motion was was more specific to the funding, I believe, but I would have to go back. I don't know. I don't have the.
I don't remember, but I thought it was more about putting light rail on the ballot. But anyway, I'd be interested in looking at that. Today, Tri-Cities treatment plant is finishing phase. Is it 2 or 1 or one of the phases?
I think it's phase 3, actually.
Phase 3, and it's at the time. The county decided to invest in that project. We were faced with actually a moratorium on growth, building homes and businesses in Clackamas County because we didn't have the capacity to treat those, the growth of the population or business. So the county did at that time decide, well, we need to invest in this so that we can continue, to move forward, bring jobs, and create housing opportunities for people. That was a good decision, but the timing of the economy probably has had a real negative impact on certainly revenues for that sewage treatment plant. And however, it has provided opportunities for reduced interest rates. So I'm excited about the opening of the plant. I assume that they provide opportunities for people to tour the plant. There's some new technology, and Commissioner Savas can probably address some of that a a little bit, that will actually produce a product that is much cleaner than old technology and provide some opportunities someday in the future. I hope to move gray lines. I think they're called gray lines or blue lines to
Purple pipe.
Purple. I was somewhere in between. To households that could be used for watering lawns or parks or schools to help reduce our dependence on wells and other sources. So I'm excited about that project. I had an opportunity to go through the canals before it was filled in, obviously. It's an amazing project. It costs a lot of money, but I think was a good investment. And I look forward to the economy turning around and businesses building and houses being built and people being put back to work. And this project will enable us to move to that in the future. So congratulations, and look forward to cutting the ribbon today. And is there anything else anyone would like to discuss? So we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.